Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Howdy. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's still just kind of sinking in that, we're like into a new month. It's the first whole week. It's the 7th of March. How'd that happen?
We only have 2 days till our baby goes away to the
our
Navy.
Son taking off Wednesday. I'm so proud of that young man. Hey, coming up later in the program, guess who we're going to be talking to?
Who's that?
Richard Saunders. And Richard Saunders has a really interesting thing that he's done. He pretends to be people that he's not. He's a method writer, and he pretended to be an attorney, and he sued Donald Trump, which is an interesting thing. It's going to be an interesting story. I look forward to chatting with the guy, but he's got a new book. We're going to be chatting about all that. Hey, in defiance of anti-whaling activists, a Japanese fast food chain has started offering whale burgers.
Oh.
I don't think I've ever looked at a whale and said, I bet that'd be delicious. I'd like
Well,
a
I wonder
whale
if it'd be
burger.
just like kind of having a fish sandwich.
I have no clue. All I
don't
know
know.
is they've got a whale burger available now in Japan, and I have no interest in trying.
I have no interest in trying
It's not
it,
my cup of
but-
tea. Coming up, we're going to tell you what kind of special things are happening today. That is all on the way.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
It's Monday, the 7th day of March. So that means today is Kazimir Pulaski Day.
No idea what that is.
I'm not sure what that is. It's Cereal Day. Oh, I should
like
have celebrated with a
cereal.
big old bowl of cereal. It's Fun Facts About Names Day, and it is National Be Heard Day. Did you hear that? National Be Heard Day. So today's a good day to be heard. So let's talk about cereals for a second. What is your favorite cereal since it's National Cereal
Probably
Day?
Boo Berries.
That is good. I like Boo Berry, and I like Count Chocula, but here's one that
Frankenberry I like too.
that's good too. Here's one of my favorites that people, for whatever reason, kind of just forget about when you talk about lists of favorites. Cheerios. I mean, just plain old simple Cheerios. Aren't those delicious? I love Cheerios.
Not as good as Boo Berries.
No, it's no Boo Berry. It's no Count Chocula. It's no Fruity Pebbles, but it's good stuff. You get out there and celebrate and have some cereal. Thanks for listening on this Monday, the 7th day of March.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by Knowles Systems. If you have funds earning less than 6%, listen to this. Commercial mortgage bridge loans pay 6% to 8%. That might be just what you need. You're placed in first position on loans secured by high-quality commercial real estate like hotels, apartments, and office buildings. Your principal never fluctuates in value. You receive 6% per year paid monthly, and your principal is returned in full at the end of each cycle. You never pay commissions, management fees, or asset charges, and you can make these loans inside or outside of an IRA. I'll give you a toll-free number to call, 888-547-8007. Start earning 6% now. Call 888-547-8007.
John and Heidi.
You know it's true because you heard it on the radio. There's an old Chinese saying that goes, beauty comes before life. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Oh, it's a.
I've heard age before beauty.
Okay, well, beauty comes before life is a famous saying. That phrase rang true in Hong Kong at a nail salon that caught fire.
Oh.
Rebecca Lee, the owner of Finger Tricks Nail Salon, and 2 staff members were putting acrylic fingernails on a couple of customers when a fire broke out on the rooftop of their building. But the 5 women opted not to exit immediately, despite being warned by security guards that they should leave. The women said, "That's okay. They're almost finished with my nails. Let's get that done first."
Wow.
So they waited till their nails were finished, and the workers said they wanted to make sure they finished their jobs. Happy with their polished nails, the women left more than an hour after the fire had been put out. So
Oh, man.
the fire had been put out. They're still saying, "Hey guys, you need to go. There's people on the roof. They're chopping. They're trying to make sure
we're
this is out."
busy.
They're like, "Hey, we're good.
Leave us alone.
She's almost done. You don't want to leave, do you?" "No, that's fine. I'll stay and do my job." Can you imagine that?
Huh.
That's kind of crazy.
Interesting.
We watched WKRP in Cincinnati the other day. We were watching that on DVD, and there was an episode where there was a fire in the building, and Les Nessman was doing an interview with the firemen.
I love that
Funny.
show.
And it was in the building, and he was doing an interview over the phone with the fire chief about it. And I thought that was funny because I was like, most people would probably leave the building now, but he's grilling this
But
guy.
they couldn't get out of the building.
Yeah, I don't know. Funny stuff. Well, that same kind of thing happened in China, only different. They weren't doing an interview. They were doing nails. That's much more important. And it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
and this is your brain on drugs. Banks are a great place to deposit valuables, but let's make sure you deposit the right valuables there. You know, good place for crystals, not good place for crystal meth. Kitsap,
Yikes.
Washington, an 18-year-old woman has been arrested after depositing crystal meth into her bank account. She allegedly put an envelope containing a bag of crystal meth into an ATM
What?
account. Police believe it was an accident.
Yeah, I'm sure she meant to put a different envelope in there. I bet as soon as she put it in, she was like, oh my gosh.
They believe it was an accident. They think she was as stoned could be when she did it.
Oh, man.
When the employees opened the envelope, she immediately called the police. A woman later admitted that she may have accidentally put the bag into the deposit when she reached into her pants to get the money. So, yeah,
wow.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a big mistake
You don't want
right
to do
there.
that. Coming up here in a bit, we've got some home safety tips. I don't know if they're good ones, but interesting ones on the way.
John and Heidi.
We like to do our public service around here and make sure we inform people about things that are important like this.
Absolutely.
A home safety tip from the Shimkus family of Pittman, New Jersey. They say a stove does not qualify as a cool, dry place to store homemade fireworks. They found that out the hard way.
They preheated their oven. Forgot they were in there.
They failed to tell 42-year-old Tracy Shimkus that the
my
oven
goodness.
is where they were storing their fireworks. That would have been good for Tracy to know before she
goodness.
turned on the oven, ensuing in a very big explosion that sent her to the hospital, and her family got to talk to the authorities about what they were doing with all these homemade explosives in their oven. She had critical injuries. That's terrible. That's bad.
That is bad.
We shouldn't
It really
laugh, but
is.
who would, of all the places to store fireworks, I think the last place I would store them would be in the oven. Why would you put them there? I mean, that's one of the only places in your home that you can actually blow the house up if you turned it on.
That's funny.
And that's what happened. So, kids, don't store fireworks in the
I
oven.
bet insurance isn't going to cover that.
Probably not. Little tip from John and Heidi.
The scoop of the day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
And now, your scoop of the day. A southeastern Michigan couple is celebrating the unique occurrence of both of their children being born on Leap Day. According to
weird.
Fox News, Chad and Melissa Croft welcomed their second daughter, Evelyn Joy, early Monday morning. She arrived 10 days past her February 19th due date. Their last daughter was born February 29th, 2012, the last Leap Day. And that's a Michigan couple. I believe there was a North Dakota couple as well. I think there were like 4 different couples that had this happen. But this one
Wow.
here's the one that I have the story. But I saw another one online that I think was North Dakota. But this is very interesting that they have 2 kids that were both born on Leap Day. And this story and the other story both say they weren't really trying for that to happen, but it just happened.
That's
So
crazy.
that's really kind of cool. Hey, something else that's interesting. Kylie Jenner wants to trademark the name Kylie. She thinks she
Oh,
should get a
good
trademark.
Lord.
There were Kylies before you,
Yeah,
Ms.
exactly.
Jenner.
I know.
So I'm not sure how that's going to work
yeah,
exactly.
I know some Kylies. So
Alexandria Anderson is the world's youngest billionaire, heir to a family fortune built on tobacco. She debuts among the 2016 World's Billionaire list. We're not on that list, are we?
no,
Didn't think so.
No, I don't. Not yet.
Here's how she got on the list. First of all, she inherited a bunch of money, but then she made an investment in a company called Ferd. The Forbes values that at $1.2 billion. She's 19 years young, the world's youngest billionaire. Doctors are increasingly diagnosing ailments related to smartphones and tablets. One of the things is called text claw.
Okay.
It's where your hand gets cramped up from texting. Another one is called eye posture. That's where you're hunched over from looking at a phone. So doctors are diagnosing this more and more. Who wants to be healthier?
Everyone.
Move to a place that has large parks nearby. A new study from the Environmental Science and Technology Department found that by moving closer to a green space, your mental health immediately improves and sustains over longer periods of time. Do you have to use the green space, or is just living there going to work?
I would recommend it. I love going on walks through large green spaces.
Yeah, that's
we should
cool.
do that more often.
But if you live close to a gym, but you don't use the gym, wouldn't it make sense that it only works if you use it?
I would assume.
I'm thinking. One of life's simple pleasures just got a little sweeter. After years of waffling, researchers on coffee and health, they fear that Java might raise the risk of heart disease. Well, a recent study found just the opposite. Coffee drinkers are a little more likely to live longer. Regular or decaf, doesn't matter. So, depending on how you want to prove it, I think there's a study now for coffee that can prove just about anything you've ever wanted to know.
There you
it
go.
can make you older. It can make you die young. It can make you live longer. It can
and
make
just
you
do
run
what
faster.
you want to do. They're not going to ever
How
come
many
to an agreement.
stories
So
have we had on coffee?
that's
Just
ridiculous.
like in the last year.
If you like it, drink it. If you
There
don't
you
like
go.
it, don't drink it.
And every bit of research out there comes from an expert. So I
Yeah.
don't know. 19-year-old Curtis Joseph Rands of Oregon recently was clocked going 129 miles an hour on his motorbike.
Whoa.
Cops finally
Good
caught him with
Lord.
him. They said his excuse for going so fast, he was trying to find his wallet. He thought he lost it somewhere along that highway. He didn't explain exactly why he was going so fast and how that would help him find the wallet. Hopefully he can find it soon. His fine was over $7,500.
Wow.
When a Washington, D.C. bandit ran away with the woman he robbed, let me try that again. When a Washington, D.C. bandit ran away from the woman he robbed at an ATM, his pants fell down. A person driving past thought it was so funny they snapped a picture of him trying to pull up his pants while running, and he was identified
That's good
from
evidence.
the photo, and he was arrested because of the photo. She was trying to describe him, and they're like, wait a minute, I snapped a picture of that guy.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw him running away and his pants fell down.
Nice.
So there you go. Maybe one more reason that the next generation should all maybe invest in a belt or even some suspenders. I don't know, something. Strange law. In Alabama, no fake mustaches that cause laughter are allowed to be worn at church. I'm not sure why you would do that, but there you go. That is a strange law. This has been your Scoop of the Day.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by Knowles Systems. If you have funds earning less than 6%, listen to this. Commercial mortgage bridge loans pay 6% to 8%. That might be just what you need. You're placed in first position on loans secured by high-quality commercial real estate like hotels, apartments, and office buildings. Your principal never fluctuates in value. You receive 6% per year paid monthly, and your principal is returned in full at the end of each cycle. You never pay commissions, management fees, or asset charges. And you can make these loans inside or outside of an IRA. Start earning 6%. Go to commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com right now. What are you waiting for? Go to commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com. Again, that's commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for joining us on the John and Heidi Show. We got a special guest joining us today. We've got an author, Richard Saunders. He's also the inventor of a technique that he calls method writing, which he's used to successfully impersonate an independent political operative, a scientist, a computer hacker, an undercover police officer, an attorney, a philanthropist, and an avenger, among many others. And we've got him on the line right now, and I'm going to give you his website if you'd like to check out his book and kind of get some of the info on him. It's secretagentman.org. But Richard, how are you, sir?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. We're excited to chat with you here. This has been a very interesting political season so far, and I know we're just kind of getting started on the campaign. It's amazing how early they start campaigns these days. But I was reading an article here that you have and some info that you have that says, what can we expect from Trump moving forward? So what kind of things can we expect from Trump moving forward?
Well, we can never predict what's going to come out of his mouth, that's for sure. But the early returns are just incredible. Three wins in a row now with Nevada yesterday and increasing margins. I mean, something like close to 45% yesterday. We have Super Tuesday next week.
Yeah, it's sneaking right up.
Primaries in many states, and if Cruz and Rubio stay in the race at that point, and Trump does extremely well next Tuesday, it could be game over. It could be game over, and Trump could run away with the nomination.
Now, you've got kind of an interesting story here about your connection to Donald Trump, because, again, we're visiting with Richard Saunders, also known as the Great Imposter. You single-handedly prosecuted a high-profile lawsuit against Trump and an army of lawyers in 2007 while you were impersonating an attorney before the federal court in Boston. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a method writer. So what I try and do is I write fiction, but I create drama in real life, attempt to, by interacting with interesting people in highly unusual situations that I orchestrate. Then fictionalize the episode and fold it into my Secret Agent Man novel. So that's how I intersected with Donald Trump in this lawsuit.
And what was that experience like? I'm assuming that had to be a pretty interesting experience.
It was very much so. So in my alter ego, the Great Imposter, what I do is I have a long list of basically almost like occupations or episodes in which I try and gain expertise in an area that is outside of my norm. So I had the attorney on that list for many years, and I had never got involved in that area. And I was looking for an interesting case to set up and get involved in. And what happened was I noticed that the Donald Trump television show, The Apprentice, was different from other reality shows and TV shows in that when the show was over, cameras were off, show's gone, somebody gets a real-life job in the Trump organization.
Yeah.
So that meant normal casting procedures shouldn't have been followed, and that you would have to follow all the employment hiring laws. And I think they dropped the ball on that.
That's interesting. Now, so at one point you guys were adversaries. Now, would you say that you're still adversaries, or are you supporting him, or do you kind of have somebody that you're supporting in the race at this time?
I'm up in New Hampshire, and this year the candidates were it's hard to get behind an individual for most of the campaign. Normally, in most of these sessions, and I've been voting since the late 70s, I kind of get behind somebody early on and then work in New Hampshire to support that person. But I actually made a last-minute decision in New Hampshire this year after the final debate, the Saturday before our Tuesday primary, and I supported John Kasich.
It's funny because you don't hear his name come up very often. He's hardly ever in the news. They have really, the media has picked their favorites to talk about. You hear about Trump, you hear about Rubio, you hear about Cruz, you hear, of course, about Clinton and Sanders, but there are other people in the election that some people have forgotten they're even involved.
Exactly, and I think Kasich came in distant fourth place, fifth place actually yesterday. But he came in second in New Hampshire. He had a pretty strong showing in New Hampshire, where he did the hard retail campaigning and get out there for over a year, and he won a lot of support in New Hampshire.
Well, and that's the thing. I think a lot of these people, if you actually have a chance to hear them, people tend to like what they hear, but they haven't gotten their face in the spotlight as much because we've had, some really big personalities that the media has just loved to point out. Now, as you were studying Trump to face him in court, what kind of things did you learn about him, and do you think that he would be a good nomination? It's kind of looking like he may be the Republican nomination.
Right, and I mean, when the people speak, that's our democracy. If that's what they want, then that's, as someone once said, you get the government you deserve.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of most of his extreme positions, but I don't fear them as much as a lot of people that are against him. I think that with our government's separation of powers and the fact that once somebody actually wins the presidency, I think it's a very sobering point, and stances moderate. That people will say anything to get elected, and promises are really goals, and extreme goals are very hard to actually accomplish with our adversarial system of three branches of government with carrying almost equal weight. Again,
visiting right now with a man that's gone by the nickname The Great Imposter, Richard Saunders. He's an author and does a really interesting thing where he does method writing. So let's talk about method writing, because you use that to do quite a bit of the writing that you do, and that's also how you ended up in the lawsuit against Mr. Trump. So how does this method writing work? And is this something you created, or where'd you come up with this?
I created it. There's a definition out there that's different than how I work it. You've heard of method acting, and it kind of came off that. So it's basically the protagonist of my novel is the reincarnation of Albert Einstein. So he is the secret agent man in the novel.
Nice.
So what I try to do is impersonate that character, pretend I'm in that character, put myself in his shoes, and then try and create really interesting situations and get the character in adversarial situations against very smart people like Donald Trump, the former governor William Weld, and create scenarios like this lawsuit, which we settle out of court, and then if the acting episode in real life is interesting enough, then it becomes fiction in the novel. Only very slightly fictionalized. The names have changed, but the stories are really how they played out in real life.
That's interesting. So now, of the method writing, when you're doing this, what would you say has been the most interesting experience you've had as you've been doing this method writing?
I tell you, the most incredible one to me was I had a crazy idea of a formula for fiction that would make popular fiction, and in order to try and test it out the hypothesis, the idea was to find an unknown small-time author, mid-list or below, and give him writing advice and see if he uses that writing advice and if it makes him successful. So I went to a author appearance at Barnes & Noble in Salem, New Hampshire back in 1998. I met a first-time author. I spoke with him at length about my advice for basically a combination of factors that would help him stand out as a novelist. He appeared to take my advice and became extremely successful. And that man was Dan Brown.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a 1 in a million shot. I was just blown away when he hit it big with Da Vinci Code, which appeared to have taken large portions of my advice to heart and used it in some of his ideas in that novel.
Now, let's talk about your book, Journey, a short story. Now, how long did it take to put this together? Is this kind of a lifelong work, or is this something that you put together just recently?
Exactly. It's a lifelong work. When I was 9 years old, I came across the fact that I was born 10 months after Albert Einstein died, which led me to speculate, what if Einstein was reincarnated? So I created the secret agent main character as a comic strip as a 9-year-old kid.
Neat.
And that grew into short stories and then eventually the novel, which I've been building in real time since 1965 when I was a kid. I also was inspired at that same time by the story of the great imposter who we had a local connection to in Lawrence, Mass. And I combined the two to create the Secret Agent Man novel. Again,
visiting right now with Richard Saunders, and again, I really do appreciate taking the time to chat with us. For people who would like to be able to check out the book, Journey, a short story, where's the best place to find that?
It's scattered in bookstores across the country. If it's not in your local bookstore, they can get it from their distributor usually within 2 days. Online, everywhere books are sold online, you can find it. And, of course, through the website, secretagentman.org. And on Twitter, my handle is RF Saunders.
Richard, thank you again for taking the time to chat with us, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Again, Richard Saunders, he's the inventor of a technique called method writing, and has used that to have a lot of fun and put together a pretty darn cool story here. The book is called Journey, a short story, and his website is secretagentman.org. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Keystone Treatment Center. Addiction is no laughing matter. Call Keystone Treatment Center toll-free at 1-844-204-1055.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Did you know Mel Blanc, the voice of Bugs Bunny, was allergic to carrots?
No, I did not. That's interesting.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
According to a recent Gallup poll, 96% of Americans have a favorable view of Canada. I like Canada.
I don't mind Canada.
You
They've
don't?
never done it. I don't mind
okay.
them. They've never done anything to me.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The first U.S. minimum wage was 25 cents an hour. That's
what we pay here.
Yeah, I know. No, it's not. we pay more than that. Double that at least. In 1938, it was signed into law for minimum wage, and it was 25 cents an hour and a maximum work of 44 hours a week for miners. So there you go. And anybody that was not working in the mines could work as much as they want, I think. I'm not sure. Hey, fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The original Monopoly game had no pieces for players to move. Did you know that?
No.
When it came out, their suggestion was use pennies or buttons or something laying around the house to mark your space. They didn't have the thimble and the car and all that. And we got one last fun fact for you, Heidi.
Okay.
Thomas Jefferson introduced a bill to outlaw slavery. So if that had passed, the Civil War might not have happened. It was defeated by one vote. So Thomas Jefferson, our third president, tried to outlaw slavery way back in the beginning, and it did not pass. It was defeated by a single vote. That could have stopped the Civil War. Coming up, we've got some more fun stuff. We'll share all of that in a bit.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by RadioReallyWorks.com. I know you're listening to a podcast, but did you know the John and Heidi Show is also a radio show? And for those of you who have businesses, you should consider using radio to advertise your business. We can even help you create some catchy little jingles or amazing radio ads that will help pull people in. Get all the details or just learn more at RadioReallyWorks.com. That's RadioReallyWorks.com.
John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Take a listen to this. If you're trying to control your appetite, here are 10 great ways to outwit your appetite. Feed it protein for breakfast.
Yep.
If you have protein for breakfast, you'll be less hungry during the day. Next, climb a flight of stairs. At home, at the store, at work, wherever. It says if you climb a flight of stairs, it supposedly somehow helps you. I'm not sure. Next, sleep on it. It says people who don't get their 8 hours of sleep, they end up getting hungry more often. So if you sleep more, you're going to be less hungry. Again, some tricks to control your appetite. Give it something else to think about. Quit thinking about food. Start thinking about other things. Next, never let it see a heaping plate. The more food that's in front of you, the more you're going to eat. So just take a little bit of food and make more trips, or don't stack on as much. And they're saying that you're not going to eat as much. Other ideas to trick your appetite. It says put it under the lights. You consume fewer calories in a well-lit restaurant. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
If you dine in a dark corner,
Who's sitting in a dark corner?
I've been
eating
in
their
restaurants
food,
where it's dark. It says,
crying in the fetal position, shoveling food in your face.
eating out of the carton container of ice cream. It says in the light, you're more self-conscious, and you worry what other patrons are going to see you eat. So eat in places where it's bright. Next is talk it down. Entertaining friends with a great story doesn't give you much time to eat, so the more you chat, the less you eat.
That's not
I don't
true.
know about that. I eat a lot and I chat a lot. Next is offer a seat. If you sit down to snack, usually you eat less. Satisfy it with soup. Start lunch with a 130-calorie soup, and you're going to eat 20% fewer calories during that meal if you start with soup. And the last thing here, on a way to trick your appetite, give it little choice. Packages containing assorted varieties of cookies, candies, dips, and cheeses make you want to try all of the flavors.
Yeah.
But if you only have one, you're going to only
That's
eat
for
one.
sure.
There you go. A couple of fun things for you from the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you want to buy or sell an RV, go to RVRealtor.com. List your RV for free. Learn more at RVRealtor.com.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. This is an interesting story here. It says the extensive use of email instead of handwritten letters is apparently taking its toll on the China post office, too. In addition to delivering mail, the post office in China is now using their resources to deliver food and to
That's really not a bad idea.
escort brides to wedding ceremonies.
I
and
mean, they've
other
got
things.
vehicles anyway, and they might as well be using them.
Beijing residents can call the post office and have food from local restaurants delivered to their door. Did
That's
I say bringing?
fantastic.
They can have it delivered to their door. There's other place where bridegrooms can have their brides delivered to their wedding in a decorated motorcade. Officials say they're moving away from traditional mail deliveries because the increasing number of Chinese people using email and telephone. They're not using the mail
I think
service
that's great.
as much.
Think
So
outside the box. That's
they're saying,
awesome.
Hey, here's some other ways. Let's start delivering brides and let's start delivering
Rather than
food.
increasing postage and laying people off,
There you go.
put them to work doing something else.
Interesting idea.
I
That's
like it.
happening right now in China. Coming up, bang those erasers, kids. We're going to tell you what's going on in a bit.
John and Heidi.
Heidi, when you were a kid, did you have to clean out erasers and stuff like that?
No,
You know,
because I was a good girl. I didn't get in trouble.
I got to do that a couple of times. I know it's hard to believe that I would ever get in trouble, but I was a naughty kid.
It actually
once in a while.
is. You're pretty.
Yeah,
Goody two shoes.
Oh, it's because I was a wise guy. That was the problem. It's not that I did naughty stuff. I just had I was a smart aleck. That's all.
I just never got caught.
Oh, there you go. Well, students are asked to stay after school for 29 hours in a row. A world record has been broken. Dutch students have spent 29 hours in a row in class to break the previous Guinness World Record by 5 hours. The teenagers were not allowed to sleep, and they survived on a diet of soup and light meals and fruit. No caffeine, though. They almost fell asleep during math and philosophy lessons. But it wasn't necessarily because they did something wrong. They were trying to break a world record. So, yeah, that doesn't count. They should have only been allowed to be in there if they were naughty kids and did something wrong. You try to keep those kids entertained and being good for 29 hours in a row. And if that's all it is, couldn't we do like a 36-hour after-school thing in our country? This happened. There was Dutch that did this, so I don't know. Kids, we'll have to think of a way we can break that record. Coming up, going to talk about the strangest tip you've ever received. It's on the way.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by Knowles Systems. If you have funds earning less than 6%, listen to this. Commercial mortgage bridge loans pay 6% to 8%. That might be just what you need. You're placed in first position on loans secured by high-quality commercial real estate like hotels, apartments, and office buildings. Your principal never fluctuates in value. You receive 6% per year paid monthly, and your principal is returned in full at the end of each cycle. You never pay commissions, management fees, or asset charges, and you can make these loans inside or outside of an IRA. I'll give you a toll-free number to call, 888-547-8007. Start earning 6% now. Call 888-547-8007.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. This is a very fun story. We're going to talk about strange tips. A runaway bride hailed a cab and told the driver, I changed my mind at the altar. I decided not to marry the guy. At the end of the cab ride, she paid the driver, and then she tipped him. Guess what she gave him?
A wedding ring.
No, a giant wedding cake. She said, I don't need this anyway. Would you like this cake? And he's like,
Sure.
So,
Oh, that poor groom.
now, have you ever worked in a place where you got a tip? Like somebody gave you something or anybody gave you anything for free?
No, I don't get tips.
I don't know about tips, but, something interesting that somebody gave you. Because I'll give you the story. The shoes that I'm wearing right now. I have a pair of shoes that I love, and these were given to me. It wasn't a tip, but they were given to me as like a gift. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. They're black and white checkered shoes.
Like Jeff Spicoli
Yeah.
wore on Fast Times.
And it was funny because my wife over here, my beautiful bride, and I, we were talking about that show on the radio one time. And I said, I used to have some of those shoes when I was a kid. And we had a listener that reached out to us and asked Heidi, what size shoes does John wear?
That was so sweet.
And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. So then, of course, being a wise guy that I am, the next day I said, thank you for the shoes. And I told him, you don't have to do that. I'll buy them. You don't have to do that. But he wouldn't let me buy them. Then the next day I said, oh, hey, remember that Magnum PI, that red car?
I
sure
love
like
that car.
Just in case anybody wants to bring one of those to me. Still hasn't showed up with the car. I don't know what's going on. But I think that's really cool. Somebody getting an entire wedding cake as a tip because the lady didn't
Interesting.
need it. So there you go. Like I said, I know mine wasn't a tip, but I still thought it was kind of a fun one. You don't have any weird thing that somebody gave you?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
All right. Well, she'll think of something when we're off the air.
Probably.
Coming up, going to talk about new cell phones. And do you need a new one? We'll tell you all about what you can do with your old one in a bit.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap things up around here with some good news, and today I found this, and I think this is a pretty good story. When you buy a new cell phone, what do you do with your old cell phone? I remember for the longest time I had in my desk drawer like 3 or 4 different cell phones that were my old phones, and I kept them in case, because my thought was, well, if I break my new one, I can always go back to this one. So I had like a whole drawer full of them. I got rid of them now, so I don't have them anymore. But when you buy a new cell phone, what do you do with your old phone? You could sell it for a fraction of what you paid for it. You could throw it in the junk drawer like I did. Or you could toss it into the recycling bin. That's another really nice thing. But there's also something else you can do with it. You can donate it. There's a group called I Donate. They partner with Compassion International, the people who collect shoes and boxes, the shoe boxes to give to kids. Well, this is how I Donate works. They take your old phones, they sell them, and they send the money to Compassion International. The money from your old phone not only helps children escape poverty all around the world, but it also helps teach children about the true compassion for Jesus Christ, which is kind of a cool thing.
That is wonderful. I was thinking, what do people impoverished need cell phones for?
No,
but
they
that
sell
is
them and
wonderful.
use
I
them.
love that.
For more details on how you can donate, Compassion has all the stuff on their website. I'll throw a link on our Facebook page just to make it easy, facebook.com/John
That's fantastic.
and Heidi Show. Now, over here, I have, if you're addicted to your cell phone, you don't even know it. Here are 7 signs to know if you're addicted. Do you think you're addicted to your cell phone?
I have a feeling these are going to be lame.
No, this is actually pretty good stuff.
Okay.
Number 6, you check for social media updates at traffic lights. Have you ever done that?
Not at a traffic
If you've
light,
done
no.
that, you are addicted to your cell phone. Number 5, the last thing you see before bed, the first thing you look at in the morning, if it's your phone, you are addicted to your cell phone.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Number 4, you consistently have 0 new items in your Facebook news feed.
Yeah.
If that's you, it's because you're checking it too much.
I'm checking it all the time.
Number 3, all of your alone time is spent on your phone. I think that's probably me.
Yeah.
Number 2, you use your phone as a crutch in social awkward situations. Like, hey, I got to take this call. It's silenced. I know you didn't hear it ring, but yeah, see ya. And the number 1 thing, you look at your phone even while you're bored at church. You might be addicted
I
to your
don't look at my
cell
phone at church,
I've seen
but I
people
have
do that.
taken it away from our daughter who has looked at her phone at church.
Give me that. You're
Yeah.
done. Pay attention. All right. And with that, time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break. Only available here on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
And your bonus break is brought to you by the good folks at Knowles Systems. If you haven't heard of them, well, you need to listen up because I got to tell you all about this. If you have funds earning less than 6%, maybe you should check into a better system like Knowles Systems. They have commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com. If you've never heard of a commercial mortgage bridge loan, I'm going to tell you what this is. It's a loan paying 6% to 8%, and it could be just what you need. You're placed in the first position on loans secured by high-quality commercial real estate like hotels and apartments and office buildings. Your principal never fluctuates in value. You receive 6% per year paid monthly, and your principal is returned in full at the end of each cycle. You never pay commissions, management fees, or asset charges. You can make these loans inside or outside of an IRA. If you'd like more info on how you can start earning 6% or more right now, call 888-547-8007. I'll give you that number again in a second, but first, you might want to just check out the website if that's easier. commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com. Again, commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com or 888-547-8007.
John and Heidi.
Now let's get to that bonus break. Let's start right here. A Singapore man was arrested, and he got to spend 25 weeks in jail for stealing 60 pairs of stinky sneakers.
Okay.
The man claims he's addicted to the smell of
Ew.
stinky sneakers. So our stinky sneakers snorter said he would donate the shoes to the Salvation Army once the smell went away, and then he'd go steal another pair of stinky sneakers. Get caught, stole over 60 pairs, at least that he got caught for.
Why doesn't he just stink up his own shoes?
I don't know. I'm not really sure what the heck is going on.
That's
That
so
sounds
messed up.
Kind of weird. Hey, have you ever heard of the Liberty Tree?
I don't think so.
Liberty Tree is there really is a thing called the Liberty Tree, and there are people. There's it's from the American Revolution. Liberty Tree was an elm tree believed to be about 120 years old at the time of the Revolution. It was originally known as the Great Tree due to its massive size and handsome shape. It was located on present-day Washington Street in Essex, next to a former 17th century dwelling. August of 1765. That's a long time ago, right?
Right.
Bostonians awoke to discover 2 effigies of British officials hanging from the lower limbs of what they refer to now as the Liberty Tree.
Huh.
One was labeled the Stamp Officer. The great tree became known then as the Liberty Tree, and it was used as a rallying place for American patriots. The tree became famous throughout the American colonies, in England as well, and eventually was chopped down by the British, and they gleefully turned it into 14 cords of wood. So during the American Revolution, they thought, hey, we'll chop down your tree. Now see how things go. Well, how'd that work out for you, Britain?
Yeah.
Not so hot. All right, hey, I got a couple of signs for you here that your company is planning to downsize.
Okay.
If you see the CEO frequently murmuring, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Yeah, that could be a sign. Another sign your company is planning to downsize. Your company softball team is now just a chess team. That's a team of one,
That's a
Heidi.
big sign.
Another sign your company could be planning to downsize. Your company president is now driving a Hyundai. Is that a cheap car?
It must be.
I can't even afford a Hyundai. If I wrote that joke, it would have said a 10-speed. Or maybe not even that. Another sign that your company is planning to downsize. Annual company holiday bash is moved from the Sheraton banquet room to an abandoned photomat booth.
Oh, fun.
All right. A giant yard sale sign in front of the corporate headquarters could be another sign.
That's a sign.
A sign your company is planning to downsize. Single girls in marketing suddenly start dating personnel managers. And the last one is your company dental plan now consists of pliers and string. Pretty good sign that you're...
That's better than our company dental
Hey,
plan.
that is. Should we get some pliers and some string?
Here's your dental plan.
Here's something that I've always wondered, and I found this, and I think this is really interesting. Why don't buses have seat belts? Have you ever wondered that?
Because they're afraid that passengers will smack each other with them. That's why.
Do you think so?
Uh-huh.
Well, let's read the story, and we'll find out. It says, these days, seat belts on school buses, they have them. Oh, there are? There are seat belts on school buses in many parts of the United States. It's mandated by law. I did not know that. When I was a kid, they didn't have them.
Not on school buses.
Yeah, it says these days there are seat belts on school buses in many areas of the United States mandated by law. So maybe it's just from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, no seat belts. I mean, on some of the buses that I got to ride on, you were lucky to have seats.
And we were always told that it was because they were afraid that kids would whack each other with those metal ends, which I could totally see happening.
Well, let's see what the story says. It says here...
You did
Mandated
not.
by law.
You don't even
No.
know what you're talking about.
Why would I want to learn with you?
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Let's
vehicles-
learn together.
The vehicles used by general public are still beltless. Given the way many urban bus drivers maneuver in heavy traffic, you might think that it would be a subtle attempt to wean the population.
What the hell are you talking
know.
about?
Maybe I shouldn't
Do
read
they
this.
have seatbelts or don't they?
The reasons are much more ordinary. Here's the main reason that adults can't be coerced into using seatbelts on public buses. It says,
See, now you're talking public buses. Before you were talking
I don't
school
know what the
bus.
hell I'm talking about. You can't keep an adult after school or threaten to call the parents if they won't buckle up. Some localities have tried to get adults to buckle on buses, but they just won't buckle. Another reason is you hear that installing belts would add cost to building a bus, but you don't think about lower profits or higher costs, that would be a factor. So they're saying...
You don't know what they're saying.
I don't know what the hell they're saying. They're saying that some buses have them and some don't.
That was the most awful break ever.
Let's go with what you said. Because people would whack each other with those belts. I'm sure that's what it is. That's got to be it. Should we move on to something that
Yes, please.
that I
Something
did
coherent.
pre-read? How about we go to this? This was a fun fact that we didn't get to the other day, and I saved it because I thought this was interesting. A washroom. This is a bathroom, keep in mind. That was built by Lam Sai Wing is the world's most expensive washroom. He built the washroom for his shop, and everything in the washroom was made out of gold and jewels. Guess how much this bathroom cost?
I think we've talked about this before. It was billions, but I can't remember.
$3.5 million.
Oh, million.
Yeah, 3.5 million buckaroonies for a bathroom.
Yeah, that would be so gaudy.
Yeah, I don't think I would really want to use that bathroom.
No.
I'd be afraid to go to the bathroom in here. And this is something that I thought was very concerning. 85%, approximately 85% of product warning labels on household products are inadequate. So
Okay.
they have a warning label saying that, hey, this is dangerous if you do this. They're saying 85% of those don't warn enough So there's things that can happen that are not even covered by the warning. So
Okay, only because people are stupid and they do stupid things. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous that warning labels have to be as detailed as they have to be. That's ridiculous. Use common sense, people.
there you go.
If
You
they
heard
made
it
the
here.
warning labels big enough to cover every possible stupid thing that some moron could do with a product, the bottles would have to be so huge.
Our packaging costs have tripled.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
All right. A thief in Michigan once again proved that people, the people most responsible for catching criminals are the criminals themselves. A man who robbed a Saginaw, Michigan restaurant failed to escape after he pushed all of his might on the door. He tried to get out. The cops showed up, and they pushed. He was supposed to pull. He tried to get out. He's like, unlock this door. And the cops got there, and they
That's
pushed the door
awesome.
open and arrest the man.
That is awesome. That just made my day.
Oh, there you go. See, I wanted to make your day. That was exactly what I was planning on doing. Maybe this will help, too. One more fun fact. More water flows over Niagara Falls every year than any other waterfall on Earth. So if you want to see a whole lot
I've
of
never
water...
seen Niagara Falls.
Let's do that.
I would like to.
Let's go on a romantic escapade. Want to do that?
Sure.
All right. It's going to do it for your bonus break, brought to you by Knowles Systems. If you have funds earning less than 6%, a commercial mortgage bridge loan earning 6 to 8% might be just what you need. All of the details can be found at commercialmortgagebridgeloans.com, and I'm going to give you a toll-free number as well. If you want to start earning 6% now, you can call toll-free 888-547-8007.